must say good afternoon to all of you. Thanks, Ms. Khatri, for the opportunity. Of course, I was jumping to come here. You might have noticed. Not because I was pleased to come here and speak as much as I was freezing there right below the draft. So as soon as he said, "Are you going to speak?" I said, "Yes, I want to." But here it's much comfortable, looks like. But let me take this opportunity to thank the organizers for making speak. Ravi is, of course, very heavy enthusiast of e-governance in the country. I think he is single-handedly driving, I know. So I always admire him for that, and hence I took this opportunity. Of course, I was shivering also for a different reason. I had few of my distinguished customers sitting here. Bhatiaji was here and few others. So I was wondering what I should be saying, because we already know what we have been doing with them. So what I plan to do really is, of course, I will talk about to the theme, which is about success stories. And although we do e-government project all over India, I'll restrict myself to Maharashtra because we are talking of really eMaharashtra, so it's more relevant we focus on Maharashtra success stories. And obviously I'll have to speak what we have been doing, because I think I can only talk about our success stories because I know we have lived those success stories ourselves. My job, of course, is simplified because Bhatiaji has covered one of our success stories. I was about to speak, but as he has covered it well, I don't want to spend time on that particular part, although I'll refer to it. But before we get into it, I think e-governance, when we talk of success stories, let's first define what is success. I think, and this is very, very important to my mind, because unless we define success at the beginning of the project very well, we will not be achieving the objectives or success that we would like to have. And I think many a time, most of the projects probably don't do this. And I have observed that whenever we define it well, we have been able to deliver well too, because then objectives of the users, customers and the vendors or developers get combined together. So I'll spend few minutes on, as I define success, I would like to present a framework of what I would call success. And then of course I will talk of 2-3 success stories that we have lived and how some of those fit in the framework that I think I am going to present. So that's my overall way of presentation. Now, success of software, of course, starts from a minimum, what I would call is software has to work, right? The minimum thing it can do is it should be bug-free, it should work fast, it should be maintainable easily and all that. But those are all technical things, they are required. Without that, anyway, software won't work. So all other things are irrelevant. But I think we need to give some weightage to that as a base level. The second part, as everyone talked about, was about outcomes. What impact it has on the business, on the government organization that you are working with. Outcome is indeed very, very important. But I will take one step further beyond outcomes. Without outcomes, of course, we are not even talking and moving further. But I am taking a little bit holistic view of governance. And I am saying, does IT help to govern the country, the state, the department better? If we take that kind of view, I think we'll have a better overall view of what we are doing. So to my mind, I have coined a phrase called tap free. According to me, governance should be like air. It should be feasible to tap it free of cost. It should be taken for granted like air. So tap free is TAPFREE. So these are 7 words that I make governance out of that. And what do I mean by tap free? As I said, tap free is symbolic in terms of getting it free. Governance should be omnipresent and easily available. But to my mind, T is about transparency. A is about accountability. P P is about participation. F is about fairness and equity along all the stakeholders of government. R is about how responsive government is. E is about efficiency and effectiveness of what they do, which is outcome part of it, which we talked about. And last E is about ethics and honesty and how government being perceived by these citizens. So I think IT should not only talk of outcomes, but should go beyond outcomes, which is about efficiency and effectiveness. But that is one E part of the step 3, but look at all the aspects really to call it a successful. Now it is not that IT can deliver all the 7 dimensions all the time. I must say that would be really tall claim. But we should not sacrifice some dimensions of this governance, because after all, government is using IT for a better governance, if I may use it. So it cannot restrict ourselves only to one dimension, which is very important. I'm saying that is the important part, but we should look at it more holistically. So what I'm planning to do is, I'll take 3 systems that we did and what were the outcomes there and how it fits into what I call tab 3 as my framework of success. Let me first take the easiest one. Bhatia ji has already covered it, so I don't want to get into the details of the system, the sales tax. He already told you that 60% increase has happened over 2 years. So efficiency and effectiveness of government, of course, has gone up, and he himself talked about it. So 1E is covered in this. But he also talked, remember, about Hawala, reduction in corruption. That is very important output of this system. So the ethics and honesty part of E that I talk is an outcome of this system. If we had just improved the revenue with same level of corruption, I'm sure you wouldn't admire that system so well. He also talked about a system where, there is now accountability of sales tax in terms of delivering the result, as well as accountability on part of dealers to feel it on time, feel it easily, feel it effectively, and thus be accountable for the taxes that they pay. So the whole system has made the whole system much more accountable than what it was earlier. I think now we can pinpoint who has collected how much, who was not paying, and very, very quickly at that. So accountability is a dimension that he did talk about indirectly. And last and not the least, I think sales tax department is much more responsive now. As he rightly put it, that registration takes much lower time now. It is 100% e-filing even at Gadchiroli. All this means really responsiveness. Nobody has to come to sales tax office now. They are coming to you everywhere and anywhere. There are a lot of other statistics that I was going to talk about, but he has already talked, so because of time I won't talk about it. So the point is, this is a system which is successful, of course, in terms of collecting more sales tax. That is the prime reason we want it, but it looked at different dimensions and has been successful from that point of view. I'll take 2 other systems that we did, and each are very, very interesting, at least to me. Being outside the government system, I was not aware of such large systems which of benefit. So one is about earning more revenue. Now we talk about the other side of equation. How do we deliver services better? How do we deliver money equitably, fair way? There is an application called e-scholarship that we did. There are 18 lakh students in this state covered by this system, where it is a post-matric scholarships through 11,500 colleges, and 1,700 crores are distributed every year. So it's not a small system. It has an implication on large number of people and on the government budget. Now, when we did that system, I will not get into the details of the system anyway, because that is not the purpose here. But what really happened after the system was delivered was that we could deliver on time this money, and we have done, for example, in 24 hours, in one particular 24 hours, we could deliver 91 crores of scholarships. And in 1 hour of that, I believe 10 crores or something like that. So the point I'm saying is, that was of course the success, which means effectiveness and efficiency was improved. So that is one key part of that what I'm talking. But what really happened, and this is important, we found, like any other system, this was misused by a large number of stakeholders in terms of students and colleges and so on. I won't go into the details, but I can tell you this system has saved large amount of money to the government because the system has been straightened out. So the government is now seen as much more ethical and honest because the system is very removed large number of what I would call rent-seeking behavior. Then there is a T in that tap-free, the transparency. Now today, a student knows how much he is going to get, how he is going to get, and he gets it straight in his bank account. The transparency of the system is so high today that it is not somebody sitting in Mumbai from whom he is going to get scholarship. So the transparency has also increased. And of course, the responsiveness has also gone up because of the speed. So this one application, which was, if you go by lines of code and various other parameters of our IT, does not look as large as Siltex. Siltex has been a huge application, it has taken us many years. But an application which changed the way government could be responsive, ethical, transparent and effective in an application is a good example of it, and impact 18 lakh students, which is not a small number as you would see. It is kind of 18 lakh families are impacted now. The last one I'll take is again an interesting application. It is in the press quite a bit, and that is called eMAHARASTRA. You know, MAHARASTRA is an agency which is, Gauri is not around, I thought, or is he? Under his leadership we did this application. So they have a lottery system for giving, people have to apply and then they do it through lottery, which is a very transparent way, that way to do the whole system and give the money, give the flats. And for one application, I think from one flat they get 200 applications or maybe more than that, I don't know. So it's a huge thing and it's all over the press. We didn't get it on time, then everybody complains they didn't get when they deserved, etc., etc. What we did really was, of course, used IT to computerize this whole lottery system, and the results are there to see. The application rejections are just 0.5%. Application time, application to draw used to take 6 months. Now it takes just 1 month. So 83% reduction in time. See the impact on the people in terms of satisfaction, that they don't have to wait for 5 more months. And actually lottery running time itself has been reduced by 1/10. So 90% improvement in the efforts that government has to do. So coming back to again that tap-free model, I'm saying of course it is very effective and efficient, as I told you already statistics. But what it has done is it has made the system very, very transparent now. There are all kinds of allegations because now today computer is deciding it. This was designed by an IIT professors and others. They designed the system which is available. Anybody can find it out how it does. So it's not, no person is involved in it. So it's completely transparent to anyone, even anyone can apply and see how it is working. It is participative to the extent that the whole system was designed in participation with banks and many other stakeholders. So the system today is seen by the stakeholder as something that they have created. And of course, it is removing again the ethics and corruption in the system in a very, very big way. So the point I'm really trying to make is, somewhere along the line, we tend to kind of forget all the dimensions of the system delivery and focus only on 1 or 2 dimensions. If we keep our eyes open, we will make our same system much more effective with not much more effort actually, but just doing few things to see that whether government can be govern themselves better and not go by only our IT requirements or IT delivery solution that is required. So if we as an IT provider can take a larger view of what governance is about and how IT can make difference to governance, I think that will really go a really long way in making all the systems that we are going to do. And why is it important? You will say, why am I talking of this? See, by definition, government has a problem because they have multiple stakeholders. We find it very easy to criticize government sitting outside, but the people here sitting on dais know how difficult it is to manage. They don't have to deal with one particular stakeholder. There are multiple stakeholders, anything that they do. And how do they balance this stakeholder requirement into an holistic satisfaction for everybody is task only they can do, I must say. So I don't envy that job when they work with multiple stakeholders. So they have no one dimension for success, unfortunately. Everybody defines success from his viewpoint. If I am somebody who is suffering because of malpractice, my success is only seeing that that is removed. Somebody who is spending lot of time in waiting for it, my success is different, which is not the case in some of the systems that we do in private. So one is that. Second is, by definition, as I always say that government has always a more scope for improvement because there is no competition there. In private sector we have competition. If we don't succeed, we are not successful, we will die. In government there is of course legitimacy to run the system, so there is definitely a possibility of inefficiency. So the scope is much higher. So when scope is higher and the dimensions are multiple, IT has a much larger challenge, at the same time larger opportunities. And if government like Maharashtra and many of our colleagues who are sitting here, who have been very, very responsive to make systems successful, what really happens at the end, and this is one of the objectives as I would call, is to build a long-term relationships. And Mr. Bhatia has rightly said that from his viewpoint, he looks at the whole thing is that can one consortium or one group can do for him, because then for him it is things are much easier. For him it is not redoing everything, explaining everything to everybody. The whole group knows what they are doing, and at the same time there is no issue of blames being passed on each other. So if we are successful in delivering along these 7 dimensions, as I say, what achieved in the end is what really customer also wants. They also want long-term relationships. They would also like to continue with suppliers, but unless they see that receptiveness from participants to come together and work, they wouldn't be willing to do that. So my viewpoint here is success ultimately would mean a long-term relationship where continued relationships happen, which is good for both the parties. And that way, I think we'll find e-governance project much more successful, moving much more faster, and many other success stories, 10 times this can be done in much smaller budget and much smaller way. And I have found that when I claim success of any system, I found one thing, and that is the last word I will say, it only happens with partnership. The system is as good as our user is. And I am not saying this because our customers are staying here. I honestly feel that whether sale tax, whether eMADA or scholarship happened because we had good users who were willing to understand our problems and work together. So this long-term relationship is a partnership model, which is a successful model for e-governance according to me, because that is a missing element in all of these e-governance projects. And if we can make that happen somehow through systems, processes and success stories, that will be what we all want. Thanks.